Hey YouTubers, I have to say that trying to record a video for every day of the month is getting a little bit crazy, especially with my hectic schedule, but I'm staying on top of it. You guys are holding me to it and I'm not going to fail. I'm going to have a video for every day for this month. And today's video I want to talk about, even though it's probably going to be controversial and it's probably going to get a few comments that I'm not going to enjoy reading, but I'm doing this video because I believe it's the right type of video to make, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I don't know if you guys have seen the God's Not Dead movies, but I've watched both of them recently, and I felt like I would share some of my stories that I've gone through in life that have made me believe without a doubt that God is not dead and that there is a God out there. Some of these stories are a little bit harder to tell, and I've done a video on one of them before, and this is the first one that I've really talked about it. But when I was 5 years old, my uncle took advantage of me on Christmas, and it was extremely hard. And at 5 years old, you don't really know what the world's about, and it's really hard, but I knew that what had happened to me was wrong, and I prayed to God that He would take that memory away from me, that He would take the pain away. And granted, the memory is still with me, but what had happened next was amazing and most definitely a blessing from God. What had happened was my mom had been molested as a child as well. She started to get the sense that maybe she shouldn't have her kids around her dad or her brothers because they had messed around with her when she was a child. So that was actually the last Christmas that I saw my family. Honestly, I feel like it was God working His many wonders, taking me out of that situation and making sure that I never had to experience that again. I would never want to live through that experience again, and I would never want to wish that upon even my enemies. But I believe that it made me who I am today, and it made me into a person that I could make this video and share my story so that other people would feel less alone. The next story that I have isn't as personal, but it's something that I thought that I would share with you guys just because I think it was another one of God's wonders, and that was me moving to Florida. I was in a long-term relationship and my boyfriend left me, cheated on me with one of my really close friends, and I just felt stuck. And my granddad had just passed away, and college and I just weren't getting along. My grades were slipping just because I couldn't focus on school. I just prayed to God that He would make the changes in my life that needed to happen for me to be happy again. And honestly, within a week, I got a message from one of my really close friends that had moved to Florida saying that she was moving to a new place and needed a roommate. And she had seen my post on Facebook about me being really upset about my breakup and being depressed that my granddad had passed away a year prior to that. And she just offered me a room, and at the time it was amazing, and it's exactly what I needed to get out of the depression that I was in because of all the stuff that I was going through. Honestly, had I not moved to Florida, I probably wouldn't be the person that I am today, just because there's so many things that happened down there that really just made me grow up and made me realize that not everyone can be trusted as friends. I have to do a lot of things on my own, but thankfully God always has my back and He's looking out for me no matter what. So the next one I kind of wanted to share was just moving away from Florida. So something really bad happened to me down there as well. I started hanging out with a group of people, and I thought they were really cool people. Some of them I worked with and others I met through them, and I got invited to a party. And at the time I didn't really drink that much at all, just because my family has history of alcoholism and I didn't want to fall into that path of life. So I went to a party with some of the people and then got invited to another party with people I'd met at that party and I didn't really know, but my friends wanted to go home, so I was like, hey, these people can give me a ride and I don't have work tomorrow, so I figured I'd go out and hang out with these people. And that's where things kind of went wrong. I was not drinking that night, but unfortunately someone had slipped something into one of my drinks. I ended up getting into a situation that was really bad, and I had several guys trying to tear my clothes off of me. Granted, I didn't get raped again, but this time I was in a situation where I was drugged, I was around people I did not know, and it was horrible. So this was another situation where I ended up praying to God to help me because I was no longer comfortable where I was in Florida. And I just prayed that He would get me out of there. And at that point, one of my friends came down to visit for his spring break. I was just done. There were so many things in Florida that was going wrong. The whole situation worked out to where the person that he had come down with ended up flying back up to Maryland. So I rode with him back to Virginia and then actually ended up moving in with him up in Maryland, and we became roommates up there. The plan was that I was to move back to Florida with him when he moved down there for school. That never ended up happening, but I believe God has mysterious ways of doing things, and He moved me back here to Virginia to help my mom and my sister. My mom, who was struggling with a few things in life, and my sister, who ended up getting pregnant with her boyfriend. Things all worked out to where I was leasing a place here in Lynchburg, and then that ended up falling through after several months, and I had nowhere to go, so I ended up moving back in with my sister, and things just kind of work out. It's crazy how things just work out when you put your faith in God and the things He can do with your life if you just let Him. When I originally moved back to Virginia, I tried staying here at the farm for a little bit, but I ended up moving to Harrisonburg, which was crazy. I was actually at a bar with my friend, and we were talking, and the people behind me were talking about how they needed someone to sublease their apartment because they got a new job in Charlottesville. And it's crazy because the job she ended up getting was a teaching assistant job that was actually at my little sister's school, so she ended up being my little sister's teacher. The roommate that I ended up living with in Harrisonburg, her dad was actually an intern at the hospital that my granddad was chief of surgeon at. So when he ended up meeting me and hearing my last name, he was actually surprised that he ran into me, and it was just like an amazing coincidence. But it was a sublease, so it was very short. So I was in Harrisonburg. I had gotten a job, but it wasn't something that was giving me enough hours to support myself just yet. It was just crazy how everything worked out. I had called my mom the night before, crying that I didn't have anywhere to move into, and my lease was about to end in less than a month. And the weirdest thing happened. Two random people that I worked with at Best Buy came up to me and asked me if I wanted to move in with them because they needed a third roommate. And I hadn't told anybody that I needed a roommate at work yet. So they literally came up to me and asked me, and it's just like, when you put your faith in God and when you just ask Him to help you out, He does it. It might not always be in the way that you want Him to, and it might not always work out in the end with your big plans, but God knows the plan for your life, and you just have to trust that He's never going to let you down. And the hard times you go through are just hard times that He's putting you through because He knows that you're going to need that strength from that hard time for another situation in your life in the future. But I hope you guys like this video, and if you've got any similar stories or stories where you know that God has been present in your life, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and share my videos if you like them. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.